Before you ask your stylist for just a bob, stop for a moment. Because a bob can be one of the most flattering haircuts a woman over 60 can wear. Or it can make the face look wider, the hair look thinner, and the entire style feel dated. The difference is not your age, it is not your gray hair, and it is not whether you have a few lines around your eyes. The difference is the shape of the bob, where it ends, where the volume sits, and how the front pieces frame your face. Today, I'm showing you 7 bob haircuts that can make women over 60 look fresher, more polished, and more current. I'll also reveal the bob mistake that many women unknowingly request at the salon, the exact questions to ask before your stylist starts cutting, and a simple test that can help you choose the right length for your face. And pay close attention to number 3 because it is one of the best options for fine or thinning hair, but only when it is cut correctly. Let's begin with the mistake that causes most bob haircuts to go wrong. The bob that often ages the face. A bob is not automatically youthful just because it is short. The wrong bob usually has 3 features. It is flat on top. It becomes wide around the cheeks or jaw, and the ends curve inward, creating one large round shape around the face. This is sometimes called a bubble bob, helmet bob, or mushroom-shaped bob. The problem is not that the haircut is neat. The problem is that every line moves in the same direction. When the crown is flat and the sides are full, the eye travels outward instead of upward. If the bottom also curves heavily under the jaw, the haircut can make the lower face appear heavier than it really is. This can happen even when the hair is beautifully colored and professionally styled. Many women receive this shape after asking for something simple, easy, or tidy. The stylist removes some length, rounds the edges, blow-dries everything inward, and it looks acceptable in the salon. But the next morning, the crown collapses, the sides expand, and the haircut no longer has the polished shape you saw in the mirror. A flattering bob should give the eye a direction to follow. That direction might be diagonal, vertical, asymmetric, or sharply defined along the perimeter. It should also work when you style it yourself, not only after 40 minutes with a professional round brush. With that in mind, here are 7 better bob haircuts. Number 7. The side-swept jawline bob. The side-swept jawline bob is an elegant starting point for women who want a classic shape without looking overly traditional. This haircut usually ends around the jaw or slightly below it. Instead of being perfectly symmetrical, it includes a deep or moderate side part with longer front pieces moving diagonally across the forehead. That diagonal line is the secret. A straight middle part can sometimes emphasize symmetry and facial width. A side part breaks that symmetry and creates movement. The eye follows the fringe across the forehead and toward the cheekbone rather than stopping at the widest part of the face. For a softer or rounder face, ask your stylist to leave the front slightly below the jaw. Ending directly at the fullest part of the cheek may create more width. For a longer face, the cut can sit a little higher, with gentle fullness around the cheekbones to create balance. But avoid too much volume at the sides. The crown should have a little lift, while the sides should remain smooth enough to preserve the shape. When you speak to your stylist, say, "I want a clean jawline bob with a side-swept front, but I don't want it to become round or bulky around my cheeks." That sentence communicates the result far more clearly than simply saying, "Give me a short bob." Styling can be simple. Dry the roots in the opposite direction of your part for a few seconds, then flip the hair back into place. This can create natural lift without teasing. Add a small bend through the front section, but avoid curling every end tightly underneath. You want softness and direction, not a perfect circle. Number 6. The collarbone bob. If you like the idea of a bob but are not ready to lose much length, the collarbone bob may be the safest transition. It sits around the collarbone, sometimes slightly above it in the back and slightly longer in the front. This length is useful because it gives the haircut structure while still allowing you to tie some of it back. It also prevents long hair from hanging heavily around the face. As hair changes with age, very long lengths can sometimes become thinner toward the ends. When those ends look transparent or dry, the entire hairstyle may appear less polished. Cutting the hair to the collarbone removes the weakest portion, while preserving enough length to feel feminine and versatile. The most important detail is the perimeter. For fine hair, the outside edge should remain relatively strong. Too many visible layers can make the bottom look sparse. Your stylist can remove weight internally, but the ends should still appear full when viewed from the front and back. Ask for a collarbone bob with a full-looking perimeter and only enough internal shaping to create movement. That is different from asking for layers everywhere. You can wear this haircut straight, lightly waved, tucked behind one ear, or pulled into a small, low ponytail. For a modern finish, avoid creating identical curls around the entire head. Instead, add a few irregular bends through the middle lengths while leaving some of the ends straighter. That contrast makes the style look relaxed rather than overly arranged. And here is one small detail that makes a big difference. Do not automatically place the shortest front layer at the chin. If the chin or lower cheek is an area you do not want to emphasize, place that front line slightly above or below it. Where the hair ends is where the eye often stops. Number 5. The softly graduated bob. The graduated bob is shorter in the back and gradually becomes longer toward the front. But there is an important difference between a soft graduation and the sharply stacked bob that was popular years ago. A heavily stacked bob can create too much volume at the back of the head. When the stacking is very visible, the haircut may appear rigid or dated. The modern version is more subtle. The nape is clean and gently tapered, while the front remains long enough to frame the face. From the side, the line should move forward smoothly rather than forming several obvious steps. This haircut is especially helpful for women who feel that their hair becomes heavy around the neck. Removing some length at the back can make the neck appear more open and give the overall style a lighter feeling. At the same time, the longer front pieces provide softness around the face. For thick hair, internal weight removal may be necessary, but it should be controlled. The stylist should not aggressively thin the ends until they become wispy. The outside shape still needs enough strength to look intentional. Ask, can you create a gentle forward angle without making the back look overly stacked? A skilled stylist should be able to explain how much graduation will be used and where the volume will sit. If the answer is simply, we'll make it short and puffy at the back, that may not be the refined shape you want. This haircut looks beautiful with a side tuck. Tucking one side behind the ear reveals the cheekbone and creates asymmetry. The other side can remain forward, giving the face softness and movement. It is a small styling choice, but it prevents the bob from looking too perfectly round. Number 4. The textured French bob. The French bob is shorter, usually sitting between the lower cheek and jawline. It can include a soft fringe, side-swept bangs, or an open curtain fringe. This haircut has personality, but it must be customized carefully. A very blunt French bob with a thick, straight fringe may feel heavy on some faces, but when the fringe is lighter and the texture is controlled, it can look fresh, artistic, and confident. The modern French bob should not be perfectly smooth or stiff. It benefits from subtle movement, especially if your hair has a natural bend or wave. The goal is not to force the hair into a round shape. The goal is to create a clear perimeter with softness inside it. For women with fine hair, a blunt-looking edge can help create the appearance of greater density. For women with thick hair, the stylist may need to remove bulk beneath the surface while keeping the exterior line clean. If you are considering a fringe, ask yourself one question. How much styling am I realistically willing to do every morning? A fringe can beautifully highlight the eyes, but it must work with your natural growth pattern. If you have a strong cowlick or your fringe naturally separates, a soft curtain fringe may be more practical than a heavy straight line. Ask your stylist, can you design the fringe around the way my hair naturally falls instead of forcing it into a shape? That question can prevent weeks of fighting with bangs that never sit correctly. A textured French bob is especially attractive on silver or white hair because natural variations in color make the movement more visible. Instead of hiding gray hair, the haircut turns it into part of the design. Mid-video rehook. The next 3 bobs create the most dramatic difference in the overall shape of the face, but they also require more precision. One poorly placed layer can make fine hair appear thinner. One incorrect length can draw attention to the exact area you wanted to soften. And after the final haircut, I'll show you the 3-angle test you should use before choosing any reference photograph for your stylist. Number 3. The full perimeter bob for fine hair. This is one of the strongest options for women who feel that their hair has become finer, flatter, or less dense over time. When hair is fine, many people assume the solution is to add more layers. But too many layers can have the opposite effect. Every layer removes some weight from the bottom. If too much hair is removed, the ends can become thin and transparent. That is why the full perimeter bob focuses on creating a solid-looking outside edge. The haircut may sit at the jaw, slightly below it, or near the collarbone. The exact length depends on your face and the strongest area of your hair. The outer line remains relatively blunt, while limited internal shaping is used to prevent the cut from becoming heavy. From the outside, the ends look dense. Inside, there is enough movement for the hair to fall naturally. The crown should not be cut into dozens of short layers. Instead, your stylist can use a few carefully placed sections to prevent flatness while maintaining coverage. Think of it this way. Fine hair usually needs preservation before it needs decoration. First, protect the appearance of fullness. Then add movement only where it serves a clear purpose. Ask your stylist, how will you create lift without sacrificing the density at my ends? The answer should be specific. Your stylist may discuss subtle elevation, internal shaping, root direction, or strategic layering. A vague promise to thin it out and make it bouncy should make you pause. For styling, avoid applying heavy products close to the roots. Use a small amount of lightweight mousse or root-lifting spray, focusing only where you need support. Then dry the roots upward while keeping the ends smooth. The haircut should create the shape. Products should support it, not build it from nothing. Number 2. The asymmetrical bob. The asymmetrical bob is one of the quickest ways to make a traditional haircut feel more modern. One side is slightly longer than the other, or the front is noticeably longer on one side because of the part and styling. The difference does not need to be dramatic. Even a subtle imbalance can create a strong diagonal line across the face. Why is this effective? Because perfect roundness and perfect symmetry can sometimes make a hairstyle feel static. Asymmetry creates energy. It gives the eye a path to follow and makes the haircut appear intentional rather than simply practical. This bob can be worn sleek, softly waved, or naturally textured. For a polished look, place the shorter side behind the ear and let the longer side move forward. This opens one side of the face while softening the other. It also allows you to highlight earrings or glasses without surrounding the entire face with equal amounts of hair. Women who wear glasses should pay particular attention to the relationship between the frames and the fringe. If the glasses already create a strong horizontal line, a diagonal fringe can add balance. A thick, straight fringe combined with wide rectangular frames may create too many competing horizontal lines. The haircut, glasses, and face should work together, not fight for attention. When speaking to your stylist, say, "I want a subtle asymmetry that still looks balanced when I wear it naturally." That last part matters. A haircut may appear beautifully asymmetrical after a salon blow-dry, but you need to know how it behaves when air-dried or quickly styled. Ask the stylist to show you where the part should sit and which side should be tucked. Those small instructions can make the difference between a haircut you love and one you never managed to recreate. Number 1. The contoured bob. The most adaptable and flattering bob on this list is the contoured bob. This is not one fixed haircut. It is a bob designed around the individual woman's face shape, hair density, texture, neck, and daily routine. The basic structure includes a clean perimeter, controlled volume, and front pieces that direct attention toward the strongest features. For a rounder face, the bob may sit slightly below the jaw with more lift at the crown and less fullness at the sides. For a longer face, the stylist may keep some width around the cheekbones and use a softer fringe. For a softer jawline, the front pieces may extend slightly below the jaw rather than stopping directly on it. For a strong jawline, a shorter or more sharply defined shape may emphasize the bone structure beautifully. The reason this bob works is that it does not try to give every woman the same solution. It uses the principles of proportion. Where should the eye travel? Where should the volume sit? Which area should appear more open? Which line should remain strong? A good contoured bob may look simple when finished, but every decision has a reason behind it. The bottom can appear blunt without feeling heavy. The crown can have lift without looking teased. The front can feel soft without hiding the entire face, and the style can move without losing its structure. When you bring reference photographs to the salon, do not bring only one front-facing image. Bring at least 3 views. One from the front, one from the side, one from the back. A hairstyle that looks beautiful from the front may have a heavily stacked back that you dislike. Another may have layers you cannot see until the model turns sideways. You need to understand the complete shape before asking someone to reproduce it. Then explain exactly what you like. Do not simply say, "I want this." Say, "I like the clean edge in this photograph, the side-swept front in this one, and the subtle lift at the crown in this one." That gives your stylist useful information instead of expecting her to guess what caught your attention. The 3-angle test. Before choosing a bob, take 3 photographs of your current hair. Take one from the front, one from the side, and one from the back. Do not pose too carefully. Let your hair sit the way it normally does. Then examine 3 things. First, where is the widest point? Is your haircut widest around the cheekbones, jaw, or lower neck? If too much volume collects around the lower face, the entire shape may appear heavier. Moving some fullness upward or reducing width at the sides can create better balance. Second, where does the perimeter end? Does the haircut end directly at an area you would rather not emphasize? A line at the widest part of the cheek or neck can attract attention there. Moving the length slightly higher or lower may change the appearance more than adding another styling product. Third, what direction does the haircut create? Does the eye travel upward toward the crown, diagonally across the fringe, forward along an angled perimeter, or does everything curve into one round outline? A flattering haircut usually contains a clear direction. That does not mean it must be sharp or severe. It simply needs visual movement. 3 questions to ask your stylist. Before the cutting begins, ask these questions. Question 1. Where will the volume sit when I style this at home? A good stylist should be able to point to specific areas. She may explain that the crown will have subtle lift, the sides will remain controlled, or the front will move diagonally. If the entire plan depends on a large round brush blowout, ask what the haircut will look like without it. Question 2. How will you keep the ends looking full without making the shape bulky? This is especially important for fine hair. The stylist should understand the difference between fullness and heaviness. Fullness creates a healthy-looking perimeter. Heaviness creates a solid block with no internal movement. Question 3. How often will this shape need to be refreshed? Different bobs require different maintenance. A short French bob or sharply graduated bob may lose its precision sooner than a longer collarbone bob. You deserve to know the realistic maintenance schedule before committing. A haircut is not low maintenance simply because it is short. Sometimes short, precise hair requires more frequent salon visits than longer hair. 3 bob mistakes to avoid. Mistake 1. Asking for too many layers. Layers are not automatically youthful. The wrong layers can create frizz, remove density, and make the ends appear weak. Every layer should have a purpose. Is it creating crown lift, removing controlled bulk, framing the cheekbones? If the stylist cannot explain why a layer is needed, you may not need it. Mistake 2. Choosing the length without considering your face. A beautiful haircut on someone else may end at the wrong place for you. Look at the relationship between the length and your jaw, cheeks, neck, and shoulders. Sometimes moving the perimeter by only a small amount creates a more balanced result. Mistake 3. Judging the haircut only after the salon blow-dry. A professional finish can make almost any haircut look polished temporarily. Before leaving, ask your stylist how the shape will behave after you wash it. Ask for a quick demonstration of the easiest home styling method. The haircut should still make sense when it is not perfectly smooth. What about gray hair? Gray hair does not prevent you from wearing a modern bob. In fact, silver, white, and mixed gray tones can make the structure of a haircut more visible. Different strands reflect light differently, naturally creating dimension. The key is keeping the hair healthy enough for that dimension to show. Gray hair can sometimes feel drier or more textured, so avoid using more product than necessary. Heavy oils can flatten fine gray hair, while strong sprays can make it stiff. A lightweight leave-in conditioner, heat protection when needed, and a small amount of styling cream may be enough. The goal is not to make every strand behave identically. A modern bob should have structure, but it should still move. Final payoff. The right bob is not the one that promises to make every woman look the same. It is the one that respects your individual proportions. It places volume where it creates balance. It protects density where your hair needs fullness. It frames your face without hiding it. And most importantly, it works with the amount of time and effort you are genuinely willing to give it. So before your next salon appointment, remember this. Do not ask only for a bob. Ask where it will end. Ask where the volume will sit. Ask how the front will frame your face. Ask what it will look like when you style it yourself. The difference between an aging bob and a flattering bob is often not dramatic. It may be a slightly longer front, a cleaner perimeter, a softer graduation, a different part, or a small amount of lift in exactly the right place. You do not need a haircut that makes you look like somebody else. You need one that brings attention back to your eyes, your expression, and the confident woman beneath the hair. Call to action. Which of these 7 bob haircuts would you consider wearing? The side-swept jawline bob, collarbone bob, softly graduated bob, textured French bob, full perimeter bob, asymmetrical bob, or contoured bob? Tell me your favorite in the comments. And if you have ever asked for a bob and left the salon with a round, bulky, or completely different haircut, share what happened. Your experience may help another woman avoid the same mistake. Subscribe for more practical hairstyle advice for women over 60, because in the next video, we will look at the most common fringe mistakes that can make a bob feel dated, and the softer alternatives that beautifully frame the eyes.